So with Remy's Ratatouille adventure about to open in around 8 months, we've got our first glimpse of a theming that is just beginning to emerge within the new Courtyard area. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to dive into all of that up next.
This video is sponsored by Mickey Travels, a platinum level authorized Disney vacation planner which can take the hassle out of all of your vacation planning. So visit the link in the description box to get your free quote today.
Hi there Walt Disneyers, I'm Jack and this is of course DSNY Newscast from the International Gateway, and for today we're checking in on the construction. As you can see that it's really progressing on this new Courtyard area, which is going to be an expansion to the back of the France Pavilion. And of course, that's going to be the home to Remy's Ratatouille adventure when it opens in summer of 2020.
Now, as you can probably imagine, I've been tracking this construction very closely, not only over the last couple of years, but also over the last couple of weeks, eagerly awaiting the next chapter to begin, which will be the exterior theming to the Ratatouille Courtyard area. As up until this point, the only really big developments have been with regards to the attraction show building itself, which was fully enclosed late in 2018. However, it's not like we don't know what to expect on the inside of this massive show building, as it will be pretty much the exact same ride experience as the Ratatouille attraction that debuted at Disneyland Paris in 2014, as this ride is a clone of a 3D Trackless Dark Ride that will shrink guests down to the size of a rat and send them zipping around the kitchen as part of what is appropriately being called Remy's Ratatouille adventure. But then this week, as part of one of my many routine Skyliner trips, I got our first glimpse at the exterior theming and placemaking elements that have begun to emerge on the facade of the attraction. Now yes, I know that these are only two themed chimney tops poking out above the construction scrims, but it also gives us our first indication that the theming for this Parisian cul-de-sac will not be the exact same artistic design direction as the notably cleaner cut architecture that can be found in its Disneyland Paris counterpart, Place de Remy, which is where the attraction is located at Walt Disney Studios Park. As you can see that the design of the placemaking in Paris is accurate to the Baron Haussmann style, but with a traditional approach to the theming, whereas the Epcot version will have a lot more aging and distressing throughout, which I personally prefer. Now the reason for this markable difference is that over in Paris, Place de Remy is meant to be an idealised reproduction of a Parisian cul-de-sac that is almost Fantasyland-like because of its positioning between Toy Story Playland and Toon Studio. But over in Walt Disney World, Ratatouille is coming to Epcot, which is a park that is grounded more on the realism and authenticity. So this would make sense for why Imagineering is adding this new level of detail that will make it feel like this place has always existed at the back of the France Pavilion, just awaiting to be discovered. And then you've also got the fact that Disney might be wanting to create an architectural contrast between the pristine World Showcase facing part of the France Pavilion that is more reminiscent of Place de Remy, and the equally authentic aged look and feel in this new Ratatouille Courtyard that is just as present around the city of Paris. But in addition to all of this, we can also see more theming elements have emerged at the top of this flat facade that will create a depth layer of forced perspective, with all of this being brought together for a fully dimensional Haussmann design that will be very effective not only from a ground perspective, but also from the Skyliner as well.
So now that we've addressed the theming, let's turn our attention to some interesting developments regarding the layout of the Courtyard area. As you see, it seems as if there's more to this than what we initially thought.
As for this project, we've only received one piece of overview concept art that was released at D23 Expo in July of 2017. And since then, we had nothing more beyond these water management district permit filings that also shed a little light on the layout of the area. But now let's turn toward the construction itself, as first of all, the entrance walkway that leads to the attraction doesn't seem to be very wide, and is roughly around 8 meters from side to side, which is actually smaller than the Toy Story Land entrance, which has a width of around 10 meters, and we all know how congested that was throughout 2018 when there wasn't the second entrance into Star Wars Galaxy's Edge open that has now helped alleviate the strain. Whereas the Ratatouille Courtyard won't have that luxury, as instead, in my opinion, it could really do with having an exit for the attraction that delivers guests back out into the World Showcase area. However, putting those concerns to one side, you can see that Imagineering is beginning to theme the former backstage exteriors of the France Pavilion, making this whole area a 360-degree themed experience. So continuing on as if we were walking into the expansion, over on your right you will see the new Crêperie restaurant, which is interesting as it wasn't originally present in its current location within these overview permit filings, but instead there was meant to be a small Crêperie stand over on your left. But since then it has been expanded into its own limited table service restaurant with a small outdoor seating area which can be seen here. But because of this it has also added to the space restraints, as despite this area here as you turn the corner looking quite expansive, you've got to remember that the small planters, trees and themed exteriors will protrude out and restrict the amount of space available. Although you could always look at it from the other perspective, and that is that small walkways have always been found all the way around World Showcase pavilions, and so they may not be that problematic, and certainly no worse than that of the Norway pavilion. Now coming back to the permit filings, it seems as if the project layout has been refined and changed since these were published in late 2017. However, what hasn't changed is the purposes of these buildings, as this will be where the restrooms will be located, and then the area to the side, which will be semi-outdoors, will be part of the queue for the attraction, as we can see with these switchbacks in the permit that line up with the construction, with this creating what should be a beautiful queue experience using Parisian arbor trellises that will most likely have foliage and lighting lining the archways and hanging from above. Then to the side of this we have the addition of these tall black posts that will actually form an ornate metal canopy that will kind of be the entrance to the Ratatouille attraction, as we can see that the canopy was always planned within the permit filings. But once you are beyond this canopy, you will then be separated off into the Fastpass standby, and then there will also be an exit there as well, which will be divided up by a small fountain in the middle. But one thing is for certain, and that is the formation of a lot of this area is slowly showing itself to be different from what was in the concept art. As you can see in the 2017 artwork that's still being used by Disney in the Experience Center, that there is no inclusion of a canopy, and the buildings are separated from one another, which isn't the case in the construction that we can see from the Disney skyline.
And then we've got the issue of the Eiffel Tower, which from this kind of distance, the forced perspective is actually quite effective. But once we get round the back of a pavilion into the new Courtyard area, it's going to be a completely different story.
As according to reliable insider Marnie 1971 of WDW Magic Forums, the canopy is partly an effort by Imagineering to help obscure the most damaging views of the Eiffel Tower from in front of the attraction area. However, I do feel that it might have been a better idea to move the Eiffel Tower further back on top of the massive show building of Ratatouille. Although on the other side of things, it might not frame the France Pavilion as well from World Showcase. So it seems no matter what Imagineering does with the Eiffel Tower, it's a pretty difficult dilemma. So overall, that's the construction update on this new Ratatouille Courtyard area at Epcot for the time being, and we'll be sure to track along many times in the future leading up to its summer 2020 opening, as it's going to be very exciting to see this entire area come to life.
But now it's over to you Waltoniers. I would like to know, despite how you may feel about Disney cloning rides for other Disney parks around the world, if you could clone any Disney ride at any Disney park around the world and bring it on over to Walt Disney World, then what ride would it be, and also where would you locate it within Walt Disney World? And of course, don't forget to put the timestamp for where the hidden Mickey appeared somewhere within this video along with your suggestion or your comment to be in a chance to win one of these official DSNY Newscast enamel pins. And congratulations to this Waltoneer here for me this suggestion from the previous video where we gave our final construction look at the outside of the Star Wars Hotel building. And so that's it for today, so be sure to go ahead and subscribe down below if you're new to this channel, hit that notification icon so that you always receive an update whenever we release new videos, which is usually twice a week. And also, if you've enjoyed this construction update on Remy's Ratatouille adventure, then be sure to go ahead and give this video a massive thumbs up, as it really does help this channel out. And I've been Jack, you've been you, and I'll see you real soon.